Good morning, everyone. This is Dawn Miller with the Healthcare Authority, and you are at the Topical Employment webinar for the month, which this month is on Washington Able Savings Accounts. So welcome. I wanted to mention that this is being recorded, and the PowerPoint and recording will be sent out after the fact. So the wonderful information that Chris is going to present today, you'll be able to access again as needed. For those of your colleagues that weren't able to attend today, they will have access to that as well. It's not restricted to just registrants, although that's who I'm going to send it out to. So Chris Gagnon is from the Department of Commerce and is going to give us an overview on Washington Able Savings Accounts, and I've been looking forward to hearing what she has to say. So I'm turning it over to you, Chris.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me. So is the camera and everything working okay?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, let me get the PowerPoint. Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's great to be able to talk about ABLE. It's a great program.
Well, I will mention too, while you're bringing up your PowerPoint, Chris, the thing that I said that I was going to say and didn't. Please do use the chat box to enter any questions you may have. And then Chris is going to try and answer them at the end of the presentation. So, but as you think of the questions, do please put them in the chat box. Hopefully you notice it there on your dashboard, and if not, at least on mine, it's at the bottom of the list of items. So back to you, Chris.
Okay, thanks. My name's Chris Gagnon, and I do outreach for the Department of Commerce's Disability Work Group. And so that encompasses the Washington State ABLE Savings Plan, which is 2 years old now, and also the Developmental Disabilities Endowment Trust Fund, which is many years old. It's a great program strictly for people with developmental disabilities, but the two programs can work beautifully together. So a lot of people have both. And I need to mention that questions regarding Social Security, taxes, legal issues, we're not really allowed to answer those. You might want to ask a financial advisor. So with that, what is ABLE? ABLE was created back in 2014 when a group of parents sat around a kitchen table spearheaded this. And so Congress did pass the act in 2014. It's a great program because it eliminates those spend down issues. Sorry, just a sec here. The spend down issues, and people can save more than $2,000 if they're on supplemental security insurance. The program is tax advantaged, and people can contribute up to $15,000 per year in their ABLE account without impacting their benefits. So in Washington, we have nearly 2,000 accounts with nearly $12 million in assets. So we're pretty excited about that. Okay, just a sec here. Okay, there we go. Okay, who's eligible for an ABLE account? First off, the disability must have occurred prior to the person's 26th birthday. Now they're trying to get that raised in Congress to age 46, but right now the disability must have onset prior to age 26. So with that, and if the person is entitled to SSI or SSDI, they would be eligible for an ABLE account. If they're not on SSI or SSDI, they can self-certify with a physician, and we've got the form on our website, that they do have a qualifying disability diagnosis. So there's a way, and that's how most people get in the door to get an ABLE account. They do that self-certification. How does it work? Okay, to open an account, first off, I want to point out the pictures on the right-hand side of the screen. Those are YouTube videos our fabulous marketing team recently developed. They're how-to videos. So there is one to open an account. It's pretty simple. You pick a cash option, an investment option, and you add $25 to your account to start it up. And you're gonna connect your ABLE account to your bank account. It's very secure. You can withdraw money online, or you can get the optional debit card. A lot of people do that. You can also contribute money online, and actually anybody can contribute to an ABLE account. So an employer could contribute, grandma can contribute. So there's different ways to do that. For people that are on SSI, their ABLE account limit is $100,000. If they're not on SSI, they can have up to $500,000 in their account. But still, the contribution annually is $15,000. You can't go over that. ABLE can be used for so many different things. We have people using it for education, going to college, transportation. Oh goodness, let's see here. Employment training. We just ask that you make it explainable and keep good records, just in case the IRS were ever to do an audit. They made these eligibility categories very broad on purpose. And actually in the language, it says all of these and more. So more would be something like the ABLE beneficiary wants to go on a vacation. They're stressed, they need that break. The ABLE beneficiary needs a caregiver to go with them. So if it improves the quality of the beneficiary's life, that would be eligible. So even food and groceries. Okay, SSI implications. For people on SSI, the account cannot go over $100,000 without being counted as a resource. The SSI would be suspended, the cash benefits. There wouldn't be any effect to the Medicaid benefits, however. And then if you've got some upcoming purchases and you hold money from 1 month to the next, you're going to want to document that. Same with housing expenditures. You're going to want to spend your ABLE money for housing, rent, or mortgage in that same month. So it doesn't count as a resource for SSI. The benefits of having an ABLE account is the convenience and flexibility. Again, it's tax advantaged and it doesn't impact benefits. And the cool thing is you can save more than $2,000 and not have to face those spend down issues. Okay, so we recently opened the Able Card feature with TrueLink, and TrueLink is used to working with folks with disabilities. And so this on the screen is what it looks like. It's $1.25 a month if you choose to have a debit card. You can load up to $20,000 from your Able account. You actually move that money from your Able account and load it onto your Able account. And it actually stays there. You can't put it back into your Able account. The transactions for Able cards are tracked online, so you don't have to keep separate records. It cannot be used for cash or at ATMs, however. Another cool thing about the TrueLink card is you can block certain vendors. So if you don't want the beneficiary spending tons of money at Target, let's say, you could block Target. Personally like Target, so. Okay, Able gift contributions. Anybody can contribute. The account owner, the beneficiary, would set up a gifting page. They would share that link with their family and friends and post it to social media, and people can contribute that way. The $15,000 annual contribution that still applies, however. There are actually, I want to say 4 investment options. The first one would be cash only, which is investing. Most of our folks are in the cash only option. There's the conservative, where most of the investments are bonds. Moderate is a good mix of stocks and bonds. And then the aggressive, where most of it is stocks. Most of these funds are in Vanguard, and our investment manager is Selwood. So these are the costs for an Able account. There is no enrollment fee. However, in order to set up the account, there's a $25 initial contribution that goes to your account. Our program manager is Bank of New York Mellon. They manage several states' programs. They also manage Washington State's college savings plan. So really good reputation. They're going to take $8 from your account on a quarterly basis. $35 annual maintenance fee. They take it quarterly. So you're going to want to make sure that there's at least $8 in the account. There is a monthly fee for the debit card, $1.25, and investment fees depending on the investments you choose, if you choose to invest. And the miscellaneous fees are things like paper statements, return checks, things like that, mostly a paper process, because this can all be done online. You would think that you would go to a bank and open up your Able account, but it doesn't work that way. You open an account from your home computer. And if you're not comfortable doing that, then there are also paper forms. They're downloadable from our website, so you got to get to the website to do that, or you can call the 800 number and they can walk you through the sign-up process. But it's a very modern program. So folks that are employed and have an Able account, they can contribute more money, which is equal to their current year gross income, or up to $12,490. Only if they're not contributing to a defined retirement contribution plan. We also have payroll deduction available. That's one of the forms on our website, which is really cool. You can have your set that up with your employer and get that money moving every month. And another really cool thing that I'd like to share with all of you is the new entity organizational authorized legal representative. feature. That's a mouthful. But what that is it allows organizations to have fiduciary responsibility for ABLE accounts. So if you have, I don't know, 20 people that you're caring for and 10 of them want ABLE accounts, one person can manage those accounts with a backup person from that organization. So that's really going to open the door for folks, which is really, really nice. The IRS final rules were recently finalized, so stay tuned for more information on that. One thing I do know is it's going to open the door for people to open ABLE accounts through their siblings or family members, people that can help them that way. It'll be easier. This is what you need to set up your own account. Very basic information: name, address, date of birth, social number, bank account information, and the $25 setup. And if somebody else is setting up an account for another person, you need the same thing, only you need it also for yourself. And so for people that are 18 and over and want an ABLE account and they're not able to manage their own account, right now, the person to manage the account would need power of attorney or legal guardianship. And we do have those forms on our website as well. Okay, these are our YouTube videos. I know I already talked about them, but they're really impressive. And they walk you through the steps. They're short videos. There's not very many steps involved. I think you'll really like them. So ABLE is exempt from eligibility for Apple Health, SNAP, TANF, and HUD Section 8. So you can have an ABLE account, you can have $100,000 in your ABLE account and still receive these benefits. Okay, so a recap. People can sign up and manage their account online without using any paper. People older than 26 can open an account as long as their disability started before the age of 26. They must be a Washington resident. However, they can move out of the state after the fact and keep their Washington ABLE account. There's a $15,000 cap on annual contributions unless a person is using the Able to Work feature, in which case they'd be able to contribute more money. Anybody can contribute to an ABLE account. And for people on SSI, there's a $100,000 account limit. And if they're not on SSI, a $500,000 account limit. Again, we have the Developmental Disabilities Endowment Trust Fund and the Washington State ABLE Savings Plan. They work very well together. An example of this would be with the Developmental Disabilities Endowment Trust Fund. If a person is on SSI, they cannot use their trust fund money for housing or shelter. Washington State ABLE Savings Plan you can use ABLE money for housing and shelter. So that's a good example of how the programs work together. Washington State ABLE is very independent. It's the honor system. We're not going to question you on what you're using your money for. the Developmental Disabilities Endowment Trust Fund. The ARC of Washington is the trust manager. They do a fantastic job working hand in hand with their clients. And so they make sure that every disbursement is eligible for the trust fund. So they're very different in that way. ABLE is much more modern. However, we are modernizing the endowment trust fund as we go on. So the WashingtonStateABLE.com is the website where you would sign up for an ABLE account or change your authorized legal representative, download the forms for payroll deduction, download the power of attorney form. We have a list of forms on the website. If you don't want to go to the website, you're not comfortable with that, there are these 844 numbers that you can call, and it's our call center on the East Coast, and they can walk you through the process. And we do have social media, so please join our social media and stay up to date on what we're up to, because we're always introducing new features of the program to make it easier for folks. Okay, any questions on that?
So there are a variety of questions for you, and I'll go ahead and start reading them off, if that's okay with you, Chris.
Sure.
First one's from Suella and says, is this only for people with developmental disabilities, or would it include people with mental health disabilities?
Okay, I lost the audio for a minute there, and it says it's come back.
Okay. So once again, the question says, is this only for people with developmental disabilities, or would it include people with mental health disabilities?
Oh, good question. ABLE Savings is for all kinds of disabilities. And basically, you would want to go to Social Security's list of compassionate allowances, or if you're already on SSI or SSDI for, I don't know, mental health disability, physical, maybe it was a military induced, then you'd automatically qualify. So it's for all kinds of disabilities.
Excellent. Next question from Lisa. How do we determine the point that disability started? We are counting when people are placed on disability, which means most people do not qualify.
You would have to work with a physician on that. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of, especially elderly people that would qualify for ABLE, that maybe their doctor is no longer around or they don't have those records. But you can work with a physician and get, you can self-certify using the form on our website.
Next question, actually, excuse me, I'm stumbling over my words. I need more coffee this morning, I think. Jim had asked if the participants would get a copy of the PowerPoint slide deck. And definitely I will be sending out the PowerPoint and then also the recording of the webinar today. So you'll get both of those as soon as the webinar, well, I'm going to say as soon as the webinar is done, but that'd probably be a fib. Sometime today you'll get the recording and the slide deck. Next question from Krista. Is it required to connect the ABLE to your checking account?
It should be connected to some kind of an account. And an example of that is, let's say you are on SSI and you have a $2,000 asset limit. You can't have more than $2,000 in your account. Then you can move some of that money from your bank account over to the ABLE account, and it will be safe because you can have more than 2,000 in your ABLE account. So that's the idea. I suppose you wouldn't have to have a bank account. That's something I could certainly find out.
Good question. Yeah, lots of good questions here. The next one, and I apologize if I mess up your name, Adriana. What if the individual had a disability before 26, but did not become a citizen or legal resident until they were after 26?
As long as they're a resident at the time they're signing up for an ABLE account, that would be okay.
Selke says, it's my understanding those with SSDI are allowed to save as much as they want.
That's correct. They can save up to $500,000.
Okay. And then, oops, I'm having scrolling difficulties this morning. Kevin says, are there similar programs in other states? You mentioned Congress, so is it nationwide?
Most states have an ABLE savings plan, and they're all very, very similar. Yeah, they started opening in, I believe it was 2016. So most states do have a program. And you can also, there's a fee involved. If you want to, let's say you have an account, an ABLE savings account in, I don't know, Missouri, and you wanted to have a Washington State ABLE account, you can roll that over. So it can all be rolled over. Same with 529 college savings plans. Let's say you have a 529 college savings plan for your child, and it turns out that they're not going to be going to college because they have a disability. You could roll that money over to an ABLE account.
Wonderful. Glenn asks, may rep payees set up accounts for clients?
Right. They will be able to in the future with the IRS final rules. Right now, we require an authorized legal guardian. So if you can become a guardian, you can do it that way. And if you're interested in the entity authorized legal representative for your organization, so you can manage one or multiple accounts, you can contact, you can let me know, and I can get you in touch with Bank of New York Mellon, and they can get you on that process.
Krista asks, what if the client does not have a capable person to represent them? What do you do if the client has too much money and the guardian will not or does not have the ability?
You can always change guardians and authorize legal representatives in ABLE. So I understand the guardianship is kind of outside of ABLE. You would have to have somebody who's capable of managing an account.
And Chris, when you're talking guardian, you're talking not just a parent. And I think sometimes we think that the parent is automatically a guardian of an adult, but it's actually a court-appointed individual that's a guardian. And I think the courts typically do a pretty good job of, granting that responsibility to individuals that are capable of holding that responsibility. And I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me.
I would hope that was the case.
Yeah. And I think it may depend a little bit on the area and the judge and that kind of thing. But you're welcome, Jim, and good morning. Elke says, so those whose disability occurred after 26 can possibly certify to qualify. Is that my understanding, or did I understand incorrectly?
At this point in time, the disability must have started before the age of 26.
So the disability had to have started, but they can apply after that age as long as the disability started prior to 26, is what I'm hearing.
Right.
Okay. Krista says, why can't you move money by writing a check?
You probably could, but it's going to have to go to the East Coast, go through probably some kind of process, and there would probably be a fee attached with that. Any paper process there will be a fee attached to that. That's what's nice about ABLE, is you could pretty much do everything you need to do online. But there are ways to do it paper by paper, if that's what you want to do.
Elke said, I was told by Social Security Administration that they don't have to have an ABLE account to save as much as they want. So I'm assuming Elke's talking about folks on SSDI, referring back to her prior question. So I'll say that again because I kind of mixed it up. I was told by Social Security Administration that they don't have to have an ABLE account to save as much as they want.
I have not heard that. I have heard that for people on SSI, Supplemental Security, they have a limit of $2,000. They can't go over that. With SSDI, there is no limit.
Okay. Monica says, are you able to have an ABLE savings plan and on Medicare savings plan?
Yes.
Okay. Alana, pardon me. Alana says, can someone on SSI, SSDI, etc., have a retirement account from a retirement marketplace if their job doesn't offer one, like if they work at fast food?
Can they have a separate retirement account? Is that the question?
Maybe Alana will clarify a little further on. Perhaps we can move to the next question, and then Alana, if you'll clarify. The other thing is, if you need to ask something verbally, I'll try and watch too. You can raise your hand. I do see one person has a hand raised. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But Alana, if you need to ask verbally, raise your hand, and I'll try and unmute you. I'm going to move on to Kimmery. And if you'll please clarify, then we'll get back to that. Kimmery says, I have a client who is getting a settlement. She's going to put the money in a special needs trust. Would an ABLE account be an option?
If there is a way to move $15,000 per year into the ABLE account, that's an option. Another option is putting $15,000 into the ABLE account and the rest into the special needs account.
Diane says, did you say you should document every time you withdraw from the ABLE account?
You know, it's not a requirement, but we recommend it just for good record keeping. The ABLE debit card tracks all transactions online, so you wouldn't need to do that for a debit card.
Which would actually be a persuasive argument for using the debit card, wouldn't it? Yeah. Elke had responded back, her prior question, yes, she was asking about if they're on SSDI and the no limit kind of thing. Crystal says, if an individual is a minor, do they still need legal guardianship appointed by a court?
Yeah, minors would need, well, a parent as well could manage their account. So a parent is, you know, considered an authorized legal guardian until that person turns 18 and then if they can't manage their own account, they would need an authorized legal representative, and the parents could be that representative.
So Jim just kind of reiterated the point that you made. Someone on SSDI can save as much as they want, but Medicaid has the $2,000 resource limit unless you have health care for workers with disabilities.
Correct.
So that was just kind of reiterating what you said. Alana says, yes, I missed the first few minutes. Maybe you talked about retirement account already. So yes, it would be a separate account. That goes back to her question of, and I'm scrolling back up. Can someone on SSI, SSDI, et cetera, have a retirement account from a retirement marketplace if their job doesn't offer one, like if they work at fast food?
You know, ABLE is not going to look at different assets that the person has. It's all based on what's in the account. They're just looking at the cash in the ABLE account. So whatever you have outside of ABLE is kind of moot. You can contribute more to your ABLE account if you're employed and not paying into a retirement plan. So that's one way to save for the future. But having a separate retirement account should not affect your ABLE account.
I see that Amy Thurman had her hand raised. Amy, I'm going to try and unmute you. You are unmuted at this point in time, so if you want to ask your question verbally, you can do that.
Yeah, totally an accident. I apologize. I must have clicked the wrong.
It was that pocket dial kind of a scenario, huh? Done that so many times I can't count. I'm looking and it looks as though we've answered all the questions on the list. Does anybody have additional questions? Once again, either raise your hand and I'll unmute you, or type into the chat box, whatever is your preference and whatever works best for you. I have a question actually, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the ABLE Savings Plan has some wonderful YouTube videos and tutorial kinds of things. Some programs these days have navigators and you know, people that you can actually work with in order to help you to set things up. Does ABLE actually have that as well? Did I miss that?
No, it does not, unfortunately.
Okay.
And
and that's, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I've got a couple other things to mention, if we've got time. So
We do. We have a couple new questions. Do you want to answer them first?
Sure.
Crystal says, can you explain how ABLE works with a state recovering asset when a person passes away?
Yes, that's one of the things I wanted to mention.
Oh,
good segue.
Crystal.
Okay. So when an ABLE account beneficiary passes away, the executor provides a death certificate to the ABLE program, and they take over the account access. The ABLE program then sends the executor a check for the remaining ABLE funds and closes the account. The executor then pays any ABLE debts and outstanding qualified disability expenses with the ABLE money. And then the executor pays any Medicaid recovery against the state and disperses the remaining money, if there is any, to successors via the beneficiary's will.
Great
So
question.
we have been told, and I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but we've been told that in our state, people that use long-term care services that are 55 and older, that's where the Medicaid recovery payback will come from.
Good information. Tiffany asked, does the client have to understand everything to get an ABLE account?
Are you talking about maybe somebody who's not capable of managing an account? Maybe
Tiffany,
somebody with a developmental disability, for example? They don't have to
Tiffany,
they don't have to
say if you want
understand the ABLE program. A parent can go ahead and sign them up because it's in the best interest of the child. I'm not sure if I answered that question.
Tiffany had said correct, schizophrenia.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then Amy says, what if the client doesn't have a will but does have family if there is a death?
That's okay. The family would end up with that final money, and they would have to disperse it to Medicaid recovery if that's what's required.
Well, and because I'm going through it at this point in time, I can tell you that the state of Washington has an order of succession in regards to who would get it if they're still alive, you know, within your family, spouse, children, parents, siblings, I think is the order in which it goes, if I remember right.
Spouse, children, siblings?
Spouse, children, parents, and then siblings.
Okay, I'm writing that down because that's good information for me.
Yeah, and I think I can find the place that I looked it up. Chris, if you'd like me to find that again for you and send to you too, because I had to look it up.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. The other,
Crystal.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was going to mention the sources of contributions to an ABLE account. So it can be from wages, from an employer, a rollover from a college savings account to an ABLE account, a rollover from a family member's ABLE account to a new ABLE account beneficiary, a bequest from a will, a monetary gift, earned income tax credit refunds, SSDI benefits, SSI benefits, distributions from a special needs trust. So you can take money from a special needs trust and distribute it into an ABLE account. So you can kind of pull money from your trust and put it into ABLE. Okay, that's all I was going to mention.
All righty. Sorry for kind of, I think we must have a little bit of an audio lag when we're kind of trying to talk over the top of each other. It's, yeah, interesting stuff. So Crystal says, just to clarify, does the recovery only apply to those on personal care services over the age of 55? What about younger clients, like DDA clients on personal care services?
You know, it's kind of gray right now. And everybody's situation is unique. So that would be a good question to ask DSHS.
And then Crystal had indicated that she could, and I see via my email she just did, send a state recovery fact sheet that I will send out with the PowerPoint and with the recording link. Thank you, Crystal. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Other questions or hands raised? People have asked some great questions. And this is such a wonderful resource. I just, I remember the days when people got were granted their SSI after a very long wait to be approved, and the amount of money that they ended up getting created problems for them, which I know now is a way that, or the ABLE account is something that can be used to avoid that kind of thing. So Tiffany says, could you explain recovery a little more? Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I was looking at the list of types of ABLE expenditures the other day, and one of the biggest ones is food and groceries. So, going to a restaurant. And I think the reason why the eligibility expense categories are so broad is to get people out in the community. Of course, there's COVID right now, but to get people out and independent.
Tiffany says, could you explain Medicaid recovery a little more?
You can probably do a better job than I can, but it's the process where Medicaid puts out a lot of dollars contributing towards their people on SSI's care over a span of years. And so to sustain that money so that all folks can get a piece of that, there is a Medicaid payback where people who have used those services, when they pass, are required to pay back that money, some of that money. I don't know if that answers your questions, or maybe Dawn, you can chime in.
Well, I'm not certain that I would be the appropriate person to chime in, but just personal experience. I've had a grandson that has been on Medicaid, and step-grandson, and his parents are paying back as we speak. I mean, they are required to pay back a certain amount of what it is that he's used through being on Medicaid, and he is on SSI. So I think that relates to what it is that you're talking about. There is a process to recapture some of what's been spent if there's someone, in order to pay that money back. Amy says, is there more information about how to get eligibility for clients that were SSDI after 26 but were definitely disabled before the age of 26?
Probably in working with a physician. That's what I would recommend.
All right, I don't see any hands raised. And now's the time, if you've got other questions, to ask them. Krista, and I've got something in the way of the last slide. So the contact information that you have on this last slide is just a general phone number for people to call if they have questions. Is that right?
That's right. Anything having to do with signing up for an account or questions regarding your account, you would want to contact these 800 numbers. General questions about ABLE savings, I do have my phone number and email on the very first slide.
Wonderful. Thank you. And then Amy had said, right, but is there more information to understand how the doctors can do that? So related back to the last question.
Okay, there is.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was going to say there is a physician's diagnosis form on our website. It's in a section titled Forms. So you would take that to your physician, explain what's going on, and they may sign that form stating that the person had a diagnosed disability before the age of 26.
I was just going to say there's actually the Social Security website has information on it in regards to disabilities that qualify and wording to that effect. And something else that's available is, you know, there are various individuals that are, and I'm not going to remember what SOAR stands for. Jim or Crystal, you might chime in on this one, or Chris. There are representatives from a program that's actually sponsored by Social Security that help individuals to be able to word their claim in such a way that it's more readily approved. In fact, I think their track record is like a 90-day approval kind of a thing. So if you work with a SOAR representative, if that's a need, that's something that can help a person to be approved when they truly deserve SSI or SSDI. That can help them to be approved a little quicker than in some other cases.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it's I apologize. It's my knowledge about it is more limited than I would hope, which is why I'm stumbling a little bit. But I can get more information out as needed. Janelle says you can get records from SSI if they were approved for disability from before the age of 26. Susan said, and good morning, Susan. Best training ever. Amy says, sorry, question's not worded very, very good. I work with helping clients get SSDI, and I work with providers. Providers don't really understand. And that's where that information on the Social Security website could be helpful. And then also working with SOAR representatives could be helpful.
Okay.
All right. Up, I see a hand raised. Let's take a look here. I see a hand raised. Now it doesn't show up in my list. There we go, Diane. I'm going to unmute you. You're unmuted, Diane. Did you want to speak?
Hi, yeah, thank you. I was wondering, you mentioned different eligibility expense categories, such as for housing and for groceries. So when you deposit money into the ABLE account, do you have to specify what category it's going in, or does it just go in to the account like a normal savings account?
You don't have to specify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
And if you do, because
I was wondering, those categories, was that just for documentation purposes? Is that why you, or what you were just saying, that you could use the money out of the ABLE account for those different categories?
yeah, and you know, I think that Bank of New York Mellon did put in some categories because we as a state are curious as to how the money is being used. So it might be that you do enter a category, which is probably a new thing.
So then your money is like split up and you put your money into different categories?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Your expenditures. It would just be like if you're paying for housing, there's probably a box to check.
When you withdraw the money?
Right. Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Diane.
and we're not going to be looking at what you spend your money on. But yeah, I think that our record keeper did put in some new categories just so we could have an idea of what people are using ABLE for.
I see that both Crystal and Jim at the same time, they were very, very quick on the draw. Said SOAR is SSI, SSDI, Outreach, Access, and Recovery. So that's what SOAR stands for. And then Crystal put in a SOAR recourse information and information link in the chat box. So those of you that are accessing the chat box should be able to copy and paste that to be able to use it. Thanks, Crystal. and Jim. Appreciate you guys. Resource. Sorry for the typo. Glad to know I'm not the only one. So not recourse, but resource and information. Other questions? Other hands raised? Diane, did you have another question? Evidently not. Okay. No. All right. Thank you. As you can tell, the unmuting is a fairly easy process. So if someone wants to ask a question verbally, we can surely unmute you so that you can do that. All right. Looks like we may be at the end of the questions at this point in time. But obviously, it's apparent that Chris has given you resources to be able to ask additional questions should they come up in the future. And there are some additional resources in general, such as SOAR and information on the Social Security website that are hopefully going to be helpful to you. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. Thank you for your great questions.
Very good questions.
Watch. Yeah, I'm kind of keeping watch to see if there are any additional. I'm going to go ahead and send out, I'll see if I can copy and paste the list, or the, excuse me, the link that Crystal gave, and include that in the email that I send to you with the recording and the PowerPoint and the form that Crystal sent to us. Crystal says she can email it. That would be great. Then I'll just include it along with the form that you also sent to me, and get all that out to folks today. And then Chris, if you have anything else you want to add to the email, if there are other fact sheets or things along that line. Amy says, thank you, I'm unable to access the link. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in an email, Amy, that's going to come to you after this with the recording and the PowerPoint, and hopefully that will help you to be able to access it. Chris, if you have additional, like I say, fact sheets or things along that line that you would like to send out, feel free to send them to me, and I would be happy to send them out to the Serena says, thank you. This is definitely good information to forward to some of my clients and family. Wonderful.
Great. And if anybody is interested in becoming an organizational authorized legal representative for people within your care, let me know.
All right, so I think we're getting thank you for the time, thank you for the information, that kind of thing. I don't see additional questions though, so I believe that we're going to give you the gift of time and end a little early. And I don't know about you, I see Chris smiling. The gift of time is an awesome gift these days. But we're just going to end a little early, and thank you so much, Chris. This has been great information, and thanks to everybody who attended.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, one more question. Tiffany, great. Can there be two beneficiaries?
They would have to have two separate ABLE accounts. Yeah.
Okay.
Each individual can only have one ABLE account. But if an organization wants to manage their accounts, they can manage more than one. Otherwise, the beneficiary can only have one.
All right. Other questions? I'm still watching. I think now we're at the point we have a number of people saying thank you, and I believe that we're done. Hope everybody has a marvelous day. Do please stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next month. Thanks so much.
Thank you.